But I said the other night, there's never been anything where they have so many names. I could give you 19 or 20 names for that, right? It's got all different names. Wuhan. Now, Wuhan was catching on. Coronavirus, right? Kung flu, yeah. Kung flu. COVID-19, COVID. I say, what's the 19? COVID-19. Some people can't explain what the 19. Give me the COVID-19. I said, that's an odd name. I could give you many, many names. Some people call it the Chinese flu, the China flu, right? They call it the China as opposed to the China. I've never seen anything like it, but here's the story. We are going to be stronger than ever before, and it's going to be soon.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q post. A lot of information to cover here. Celtic was Joe Biden's code name for the Secret Service, and Renegade was Obama's code name for the Secret Service. And Q wants us to look at the charges of sedition and treason for what these people did to our nation. We're going to talk about what that means, and we're going to look at a bunch of other breaking news stories that really are important. And if you want to get sworn in as an official digital soldier, you're going to want to stick around for that too. So check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. Today, I always like to start. I say thank you to every one of you who is a returning viewer. You guys keep this channel going, and everyone who's subscribed, thank you. If you guys haven't done that yet, please, it's really simple. It helps channel out. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, then hit that bell for notifications and select all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Also, don't forget to stick around. At the end of the episode, we do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, and today we're going to do another verse out of the book of James, where we left off kind of, and we're going to pick up in James chapter 4, talking about our will and his will, our Father above in heaven. So please stick around for that at the end. It'll be a very helpful, hopeful, positive message, so I hope you guys stick around to check that out. Now today we're going to pick up right where we left off. We left off at 45:05. That was the last Q post we had, and we're picking up today at 45:06. And we have a lot of information to get through here, so we're going to jump right into it. But before we do that really quick, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. You can download it for free using the link in the description so they know I sent you. And when you do that, when you install it and run it and use this product, they'll make a contribution to this channel. So it's a win-win. It's a great internet browser, better than whatever you're using right now, I'm sure, because it blocks the ads and it gives you a bunch of other great features. So check it out. You can download it for free using the link in the description. I use this product. I can't recommend it anymore. So check out the Brave browser. You can download it for free using the link in the description, install it, and run it today. Now, we're going to get into the latest Q posts, and we're going to start here, the People's General, soon. And then it gives the 3 stars. And of course, today we got the news that the appeals court has decided on General Flynn's case to say that it needs to be dismissed immediately. It says, upon consideration of the emergency petition for writ of mandamus, the responses thereto and the reply and the briefs and amicus curiae in support of the parties and the argument counsel, it is ordered that Flynn's petition for writ of mandamus be granted in part. The district court is directed to grant government's Rule 48 motion to dismiss, and district court's order appointing an amicus is hereby vacated as moot in accordance with the opinion of the court filed herein this date. That seems to be the latest document out from the Flynn case today, June 24th, 2020. It looks like this case is going to be dismissed, finally. And I believe that's exactly what Q was pointing us to. So it's interesting to note that General Flynn's case is being dismissed, and the corrupt judge is not going to be able to go after him for perjury. Hopefully, this will be the end of it, and that's where we're going to have to leave that for now, because that's all the information that we have so far. The next post here, though, is very interesting. It is a post Q gave us a while ago where he told us what a patriot was and what a traitor was, saying a patriot's a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interest with devotion. And also, a person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights, against presumed interference by the federal government. Then it says traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. Another definition is a person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Then it gives us this tweet from Technofog, which is a popular account on Twitter that's putting out information on a regular basis from the courts, from the declassification, etc. And this is big. Peter Strzok's notes from January 4, 2017. So this is just before President Trump was sworn into office. This is when President Trump was still the president-elect, right? And he was about to get inaugurated exactly 16 days from this day that this happened in 2017. It says, discussion among Obama, Comey, Yates, Biden, and Susan Rice. Biden says, quote unquote, the Logan Act, talking about General Flynn. Obama says, have the right people on the Flynn case. And of course, Comey says that the Flynn-Kislyak call appears legit. So think about that. This is before we had these endless rounds of fake news lies. And we had all of these people going on major networks saying, oh, I'm not sure. It looks like there could be some Russian interference, right? When you're talking about Comey and his cohorts, right? And here you have them saying, oh, it appears legit. The phone call appears legit. And Obama's ordering the FBI and all the people in the room, his national security advisors, etc., to get the right people on it. I mean, this is groundbreaking. If you look at the actual documents that are cited here, it says Strzok's notes believed to be from January 4th reveal that former President Obama, James Comey, Sally Yates, Joe Biden, and apparently Susan Rice discussed the transcripts of Flynn's calls and how to proceed against him. Mr. Obama himself directed that the right people investigate General Flynn. This caused former FBI Director Comey to acknowledge the obvious that General Flynn's phone calls with Ambassador Kislyak appear legit. Oh, that's fascinating. Here are the actual handwritten notes, the chicken scratch that I guess you can barely make out what they say here, but it's there, documentable. These are the actual handwritten notes from Peter Strzok that was sitting in on this meeting and taking notes about what was happening. So that's what Q wants us to look at, and then says they never thought she would lose. Careless Q. Yeah, they never thought she would lose. That's why you're seeing this panic. That's why you're seeing all this destruction and chaos, because they weren't prepared for a person like Trump to get into power. And then further, they were not prepared for the military to back Trump and to help him to take down this deep state and this global syndicate, this global criminal mafia that's been engaged in weapons trafficking, sex trafficking of humans, illegal drug trafficking, and to take down a lot of these internal systems, right? We all know what happened with the CIA and running drugs to fund their operations. You think that that all stopped? And do you think that other countries aren't doing it? I mean, so look, this is what, President Trump put a threat to them with stopping or threatening to stop. And that's what they are panicking and creating all this chaos for. So the next one here has Barack Hussein Obama with 18 U.S. Code subsection 2384 and 18 U.S. Code subsection 2381, both for seditious conspiracy and treason. And it's got a picture right there. It says, add Biden, memes are important, Q. So we'll come back to this one because they did add Biden later. But it says, the next post is really important. So remember what we're doing here, why we're doing this. And this is Q explaining to us in detail why we're here, what we're doing. And I know where this came from. Yesterday on Twitter, I think we were all talking about, a lot of us were talking about moving off the platforms. I'd even tweeted out saying, like, look, if they're just going to keep silencing us on these platforms and picking us off one by one, why don't we start going over to the other platforms and making those big? But I realize now that the timing was everything for this, right? So they decided to attack us on these big major social media platforms right before the election because they know we can't build up big enough audiences on the other platforms in enough time to make a difference for the 2020 election, right? So what Q's telling us here, I think, is the intelligent way to look at this as, we take a step back and kind of look at the game overall. They lulled us into this false sense of security by getting us into their platforms and telling us it was open speech and free speech, and telling us that they weren't going to censor us, and telling us that everything was going to be all right and they were going to follow the rules. But now, because they're liars and they're cheaters and they're scum, they decided to just break their word and go back on it 100% and just start picking us off one by one, just and gauging it and then testing the response level. They take one person's account down, like Carpe Donktum yesterday that we talked about. Then they gauge that response. How many people got upset? How many people tweeted about it? And then they go to the next person. They'll work their way down the line to you and me someday. They'll just keep picking us off one by one. But for now, what Q says is very important to remember. We can't retreat. And I 100% agree with this. So it says, you have been selected to help serve your country. Never retreat from the battlefield. Twitter, Facebook, etc. Use other platforms as a form of centralized command and control. Organize and connect. Bridge through linking. Source memes, material from Battlefield and or Garage. Highlight and share, take and drop. Mission 1. Dispute. Reject propaganda push through posting of research and facts. Mission 2. Support role of other digital soldiers. One falls, another stands, rises. Mission 3. Guide. Awaken others through use of facts, D-Class 1 through 99 materials and other relevant facts, and memes, decouple MSDNC control of info stream. Ask counter questions to initiate thought versus repeat echo of MSDNC propaganda. Mission 4. Learn use of camouflage digitally. Primary account, suspended, terminated. Use of secondary. Mission 5. Identify strengths, weaknesses, personal and designated targets regarding Twitter and Facebook. Other example regarding memes, failure to read through use of algo. Think Tron, MCP Master Control Program. Dependence on person-to-person capture, slow response time, unidentified users. Game theory, information warfare. Welcome to the digital battlefield. Together we win. Q. All right, so there's a lot to go through here. So let's just start. You heard what I said before about Twitter trying to pick us off one by one, but we can't back down. That means that we're going to have to keep putting the information to them and forcing them to expose themselves through their lies, right? We have what is it, 5 missions here, starting with disputing it, which means go up against their propaganda and give them research and facts to dispute everything that they lie to you about and try to mislead you on. Then support other digital soldiers, everyone else out there. We're all Americans, and if we're not, necessarily all U.S. citizens, at least we're all trying to get to the truth, right? But for the most part, it's here in America. I think this is what this is referring to, obviously. But I guess digital soldiers are all over the world, right? I know there's a lot of you out there all over the world listening to this. So we're all in this together. Where we go and we go all. Then it says, guide and awaken others. That means we got to red pill as many people as we can, and we got to interrupt their fake news programming. We have to make them hear our voices, and we have to get to those who are listening. Because one of the things that really frustrated me today, the slow realization I've been making over time, that Q, I think, has even alluded to, there are people who we trust and respect in our own lives, and I guarantee you in your life just as much as mine, who depend on these fake news liars. I mean, I was in a waiting room today, and I'm looking at the TV, and it's like CBS News, and I'm watching these just, I have such disdain for these people because I know that they just lie through their teeth, and they lie with a smile and read off a teleprompter that's been written for them, the lies, and they don't even care about the impact as long as they get their $1 million check and have, their high-end luxury loft in downtown Manhattan. But I'm looking at these liars, and they're like the wolves in sheep's clothing, sitting there just spreading lies. And then I just was thinking about how many people I know who I trust and respect watch these people and take them seriously. It's disgusting. But we have to awaken people. We have to help counter the message that the fake news puts out there. And then the camouflage thing just talks about, if you have secondary accounts, alternate accounts, whatever it is, we've all had to do that. You've seen how that works. And then it talks about the last mission, which is identifying strengths and weaknesses, right, of these organizations like Twitter and Facebook. Where can we hit them where it will make the most impact? Meaning, How can we get around the suppression, the censorship, the outright unfair, biased use of these social media platforms to suppress our message, to suppress our voices, to put us down because they're trying to affect the outcome of the election? How do we get around that? And there's a million different ways. And when Q says think Tron, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, you know, we just have to get from one person to another. We have to, that's how the message spreads. And we have to do it slowly but surely. And, you know, they can't stop us if we just keep coming in as new avatars, new accounts, new personas, because that's the game. And, you know, if Antifa is going to organize to go out and march through our streets and burn down our cities and loot and riot and tear down statues and intimidate people, commit random acts of violence, commit hate crimes based on race, this is how we have to start countering it. We have to get organized, we have to have missions, and we have to be relentless, because we have to expose this criminal corruption and the fact that these people are trying to destroy this country from within. They've set us up for this. They've polluted the minds of an entire generation of youth with gore and violence and Satanism and the worshiping of evil. And watch any movie that's like a horror flick. Listen to any rap song. Listen to any, anything. And watch any TV show. Most of the stuff that the youth are watching now, especially the ones who are out in the streets right now, it's godless. It's a death culture of just nihilism and just complete depravity. And these are the ones who want to run our society. Do you want to run and live, or do you want to live in a society where it's being run by people who, you know, do the things that these people are doing? I don't. So we got to get together and get this done. The next one here is an Anon posting this. This would be basically what you would say is like an oath to the Constitution. So if you guys want to join me right now, I'm going to do it right now. I'm taking the oath right here on air to this country. I think I've done this before, but I'll do it again. And if you guys want to join me, you should, because we are going to stand for this country. And if you want to join me, I'm going to start, and then you guys can say it at where you're at. And it's unofficial, but it's official to me and to God in my heart. And so here we go. It says, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Where we go on, we go all. And Q says, take the oath, mission forward, Q. So you've all been deputized. If you said that along with me, we're all deputized now. We're in the digital army, and you're an official soldier. So get out there and start countering the propaganda, countering the Marxists, countering the communists, countering the socialists, countering the anarchists, countering the Antifa, countering the fake news media and their lying syndicate of criminal mafiosos who want to destroy this country because they are sick in the head. All right? That's what we're here to do. It says, this has never been attempted. Use of general public to counter the narrative propaganda pushed by controlled media. Analysis start to now indicates situational awareness, decoupling of MSDNC control of information channels 1 through 99. Q, whenever he says channels 1 through 99, remember, he's referring to Epstein Island. He's referring to the bunkers. He's referring to what happened with Laura Silsby and the Haitian kids and the Clinton Foundation. He's referring to Nexium. He's referring to the Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner, the honeypots. He's referring to all the things that the fake news won't talk about. They won't even touch because they're afraid to talk about what is happening in this country, and they're 100% controlled. So remember, when Q says the 1 through 99, that's how way I read it. It says, of general public expanding at massive pace. Attacks indicate can be defined as loss of generalized information control, need to expend ammunition, muster network to defend and coordinate attacks to counter, military-civilian alliance, Q. So let's put it this way. We know Q's a military operation. We know President Trump has been posting with Q as Q+. We know that the information that we are getting is undeniably verifiable for the majority of all of it. And if the mainstream media did an ounce of research or an ounce of real journalism, that they would be reporting on these things. So remember, the military is working to give us information to go around the fake news, because the fake news is controlled by the criminals who we're trying to expose. These globalists who want to sell our country out to the highest bidder, who don't care about the Constitution, who don't care about the preservation of our republic. They only care about how much money is in their bank account and how much power they have in this life. So that is something we are up against. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're at. The next one, one of the Anons corrected the graphic to have Joe Biden and Barack Obama in both under the sedition and conspiracy, or seditious conspiracy and treason laws there being cited. So yeah, the next one here is Cybercom, something that Q wants us to look at. It's a tweet where it's the Office of Director of National Intelligence, which is now obviously, John Ratcliffe, joining General Paul Nakasone from the NSA, who replaced, as you'll recall, Admiral Mike Rogers, who was formerly in charge of the NSA, and who we know is involved with helping get information to our movement, to expose the fake news, to expose this Satanism, this evil, this global human trafficking and pedophilia, all of it. The stuff that you get laughed at by the fake news, you get derided and called a conspiracy theorist for talking about, when you're just trying to help save children. You're trying to help save this nation and save everyone in it from these wolves that surround us. And these people laugh at you because they're sick. They're literally sick in the head. But thank you, General Nakasone and Director Ratcliffe, for your service to our country. We are very grateful. The next post here says, worth remembering, February 2019, it gives this Guardian article talking about stop the online conspiracy theorists before they break democracy. So they've been calling for this for quite some time now, right? They've been saying, we have to stop the online conspiracy theorists. We have to shut down free speech. We can't let them, because they know the truth that we're getting out there is going to get to the people eventually, and that their systems of control are going to get broken. So they have that to look forward to. Q says, quote, from the article, the scale this generates is disproportional enough to distort public perception. In 2018, ISD identified close to 30 million uses of the word QAnon across Twitter, YouTube, and forums such as Reddit and 4chan. Numbers today dwarf past estimates. Handle with care, Q. So that means today we're not doing 30 million. We're talking about 300 million, probably closer to, or more. And I mean, like, I've talked about this with people, and there's a lot of other channels like this. If the big tech social media, fascists weren't suppressing our content, our channels, I mean, most of our channels should have millions of subscribers by now with hundreds of millions of views. But instead, we've been suppressed, and we've still broken through their content suppression. Q, in this next one, just making a correction where it says worth remembering. He forgot to put ing, saying on the move. So they were on the move. It was a typo. Should have said remembering. The next one here is this Shane Huntley tweet, which I thought was very interesting, right? So this is this guy who is Shane Huntley. He is the Google threat analysis, or he works for Google's threat analysis group, I should say. And it says, waiting outside a lunch place in Silicon Valley today, I overhear a middle-aged woman calmly, I guess you should say, explaining QAnon to her friend and how it's all part of some grand plan by Trump to rebuild the U.S. government, jarring to run across this in the real world here. Well, Shane. This guy. So Q points us to him because he works, obviously, on Google's threat analysis group. And if you go through his tweets, which I did comb through his tweets, and did a few very key searches, I found some interesting things. Looking back on his tweets, we can go all the way back to 2013, where I found this interesting tweet, Shane, where he says the advanced persistent threat, which is an APT, it's a term used by threat analysis organizations regularly across the community. It says Microsoft calls NSA advanced persistent threat, and then he adds, right, he's quoting this article, right, that the Microsoft company called the NSA basically an advanced persistent threat. Now remember, this is a term usually used for like Chinese state hackers or large hacking groups or Iranian hacking groups or whatever it is. But he puts this article up and that says it's a better use of the term APT, or a better use of the term than APT equals China. So what, I mean, I know what he's trying to say there, but you have to understand that these people were working on Project Dragonfly, and that's what Q wants us to look at. That's why Q's pointing us to it, saying, interesting, this was prioritized, routed. Oh, another thing that was interesting, if you look at the guy's tweet, it actually says here, he's got 6,900 likes. Now, I don't know if he had that many before Q pointed it out, but it seemed like, you know, the tweet was very recently put up by Q, and it already had a few thousand likes. And this guy's only got, what, 6,900 followers? So he had 30% of his followers liking this comment. And that's just like unheard of a lot of the time on this platform, you know, unless there's a reason. Usually it has to be promoted. You can't put QAnon in a tweet without it being suppressed. But it's interesting that his tweet got basically promoted. Oh, okay. Let's see what that's all about. But Q pointing us to it saying, interesting, this was prioritized, routed. Google Threat Analysis Group entry catalog, Deep Dreaming, Young Dragonfly. Now, what's Q referring to here? This is something we've talked about before. First of all, Deep Dreaming was a reference to what Q pointed out to us before. And this was this Jason Bourne film saying, thinking about Project Dragon, or Deep Dream, excuse me, which was the social media group inside of this movie. So the part Q told us about before was to look at this. And this was talking about a social media giant named Deep Dream that was involved with this real-time mass surveillance that was used by the CIA in this assassination program that they called Iron Hand, right? So Q pointed us to this before because a lot of times, you know, these Hollywood writers, you know, Tom Clancy, all the rest, the ones who get the big movies out there, they're getting this information straight from these intelligence agencies. They're basically telling us the stories of what's happening behind the scenes to some degree or another, with a few minor exaggerations or in some cases some major exaggerations here and there. But this is one of those examples of, you know, them telling you to your face what's happening behind the scenes, basically in a predictive way. And this is what we're meant to look at. So Q points us there, and we look at it, and I think it's just the Young Dragonfly then is a reference to what Q told us about the Project Dragonfly, which is Google's attempt to track user GPS, voice, and text. It's their way to get, and it's the CIA's way to get around the laws that exist inside the United States that prevent them from spying on their own people. So they just go tap into the foreign surveillance programs that are actively being helped by these big tech companies, right? Because they're spying on us, so then they just go steal off from them. But look, that's just one way of looking at it. There's a lot more that goes into this, and it's something that you know, Q's trying to tell us about. And warning us to look at this tweet is very important. Now, the next final tweet that we have here is this tweet from a deplorable RN, I guess registered nurse, saying, can we make it trend, Patriots? And she actually goes on to take the oath that we just went through and did on this channel here as well. So we're all taking the oath. Let's make it viral. Go post a video of yourself doing the oath on Twitter or other social media. Get it out there. That's definitely a way we can show them that we're serious and that we're not going to back down. Q says, we're in this together, unity, not division, where we go one, we go all. Q. All right. And that's, we're going to leave it with the Q post. A few other stories I want to cover. First of all, a violent mob attacks a Democrat state senator, beating him to a pulp and leaving him in a field as he took pictures of them destroying his city. Yeah, that's what you want. If you vote for Democrats, we'll have a lot more of that in the future, where they're just attacking public representatives and leaving them in on the streets to die. That seems to be the case. Another thing, the Philadelphia city officials have announced that they intend to remove the statue of Christopher Columbus in Macaroni Plaza, which Tuesday night attracted armed men that physically clashed with Black Lives Matter protesters. So Black Lives Matter protesters go to tear down a statue, and a bunch of patriots show up to protect the statue. So the city does the dirty work for Black Lives Matter. They pull down the statue for them. How does that sound? Just another example of Democrats running the government into the ground. But that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. A few more things before we go. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Also, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything. I'm also over on Twitter at JustInformYou, and I'm also on Twitter at informed_news. Also, you can find me over here on Parlor at JustInformedTalk is the handle, and on BitChute.com/JustInformedTalk is the backup channel. Also, I have JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, so go check that out as well. And if you want to make a contribution to this channel financially, there is Patreon, which is a crowdfunding website, monthly donation, set it and forget it. I know you're helping create content on this channel. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything will be in the description below. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, we're going to read out of the book of James, chapter 4, and we're going to look at verses 13 through 17, and they talk about our will and his will. And I want to share these words and we'll talk about them briefly, but it says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will travel to such and such a place, and spend a year there and do business and make a profit. You don't even know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be, for you are a bit of smoke that appears for a little while, then vanishes. Instead, you should say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. But as it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. So for the person who knows to do good and doesn't do it, it is a sin." That's pretty simple, right? I think that's really just a message about surrendering ourselves to God's will and understanding that we must possess the humility, meaning we have to be humble before God, to know that God knows what will happen in our lives and that nothing's guaranteed. Every day we have to live righteously. We have to, as it says here, if we know to do good and don't do it, it's a sin. And we have to do this every day, and we have to live like tomorrow's not guaranteed, because it isn't. So that's my message to you. Remember, as it says here, instead we should say to ourselves, if the Lord wills it, we will live and do this or that. So it's a little way of changing your perspective that can make a huge difference, and to help you help others and become stronger in your ministry to God. That's my message to you guys. Take that, share that with your family, your friends, your loved ones, get it out there and remind them that when it comes to our will and his will, if the Lord wills it, then we will get it done. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Thanks for watching this episode. Remember to come here, click the subscribe button, also hit it, punch it, tap it, whatever, hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me though. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.